that Red Room video was so unexpected, and it, I gasped when I saw it. So the ice bath photos are quite nice, but they're a dime a dozen.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fan Behavior and F1 podcast. I am Zoe. I'm here with Hannah.
Hey.
Welcome to the Fan Behavior mid-season awards show. So exciting. Why wait till the end of the season to do an awards show when you can do one during the summer break?
Exactly.
Lots of things have happened in the races we've had so far this season. So let's give some people some awards. Exactly.
We used to host a hell of an award show party.
We did. We have a number of categories to get through, many of which we shared on Instagram a few weeks ago. You all sent in your nominations. We have combed through them. We have picked a winner for each of these categories. Now, maybe when this episode comes out, I will also post these categories and the audience can vote on who they thought should win, and we can see if we agree or disagree, because again, this is Hannah and I coming together to pick a winner. I also want to preface before we get into all of this is just for fun. Just for fun. It's not that serious.
Nah.
It's not that deep.
Nope.
It's also extremely it's a biased award show.
Right.
Many shows are not supposed to be biased. This one
I don't know how not to be. So
Fan Behavior award show is biased,
and that's okay.
But we do our best to try to be as objective as possible, though at times you have to be subjective. You have to use your own thoughts and feelings about these people.
Yeah.
I did just have one question before we get into the awards that I wanted to ask you, because I probably will forget for a future question of the week thing. But so we talked about that we would want to make content with Daniel and Yuki, right?
Yeah.
And that if we, and the reason I'm thinking of this was because I watched Matt and Tommy. This is the second podcast in a row that I've mentioned them. They did a YouTube video with Charles and Carlos.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
I've seen clips of it.
Okay, well, we should watch it after this because it's good. And Matt was obviously with Charles because he loves Charles, and Tommy was with Carlos.
Right.
And it got me thinking that if we were to do content with every team, like who would each of us be paired up with? Who would we, going into it, be like, okay, you're with this person, I'm with this person.
Right.
So I thought we could run through the grid and just set it now so that when it does come true, there's no,
that's fair.
You're with him, I'm with him, we figure it out. So let's just start with the top of the leaderboard. Red Bull, obviously you'd be with Max.
Right.
And I'd be with Checo.
Yes.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Mercedes.
You'd be with Lewis and I'd be with George.
Yes.
Which is fine.
Which is also great.
Yeah.
Ferrari. I'd be with Charles.
Yeah, and I'd be with Carlos, which I'm very happy with.
Yes. We're going now. These are when things get maybe a little bit more difficult. Let's do McLaren.
I'll be with Oscar.
You will?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really coming around to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Lando and I could maybe bite each other's heads off in a game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be with Lando if you want, but I think the banter of me and Lando being on opposing teams would be more entertaining.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Alpine.
Yeah, you're with Pierre.
Okay, you be the Esteban. Well, we're agreeing pretty well so far. AlphaTauri.
Oh, I'll be with Yuki.
Okay. I mean, I would love to also be with Yuki. I wouldn't be mad if there was a situation
on that one, but I just assumed you'll be with Daniel.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be upset. I mean, I wouldn't be upset to be with any of these people. Let's just be clear.
Right.
But I would gladly also partner up with Yuki.
Yeah.
But okay. Thank you for taking one for the team. Haas, you can be with, well, you can pick because I feel like
I'd probably
both
pick
of them.
Kevin still.
Okay. So I'll be with Nico.
Yeah.
Aston Martin.
I would prefer Fernando.
I'll be with Lance.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be with Lance.
But I was okay.
Alfa Romeo, you can be with Valtteri and I'll be with Joe.
Okay.
And how many is that? Or we're forgetting Williams? Is that the only one we're forgetting?
I think so.
And you can be with Alex, and I'll be with Logan.
That's nice of you. Is that it?
I think that's it, right? We did Red Bull, Merc, Ferrari, McLaren, Alpine,
Aston Martin,
AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Haas.
Yeah.
Wow,
Wow, we always
we
forget
didn't-
someone.
we didn't. Well, and also we didn't have to like fight over anybody.
No,
Like, it
I
was
don't think
fine.
we would need to. I mean,
Okay.
in circumstances like that, like like I know it's a hypothetical, but in like hypotheticals that could never actualize, there's more of a. I feel like we put up more of a fight with hypotheticals that could be realized. It just becomes obvious of like, well, this is
Like, you like that person more, so then you
Yeah,
deserve that person to be
correct.
partnered with that person.
yeah, like
yeah.
even if like objectively Lewis Hamilton is more popular than George, the reality is like I don't deserve to be partnered with Lewis.
Well, look at our shirts. I'm wearing a Lewis shirt, and you're
Oh,
wearing
yeah, that
Princess
was-
George.
That wasn't even planned, but it's true. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
it just
right.
makes sense.
Right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it's like, you give me one person, I'll give you one person.
Correct.
Right. Like, you got to give and take.
Exactly.
But though, you and Fernando as teammates would be a little dicey. I guess I can see that getting a little tough.
I think it could be dicey or really fun. It just depends on how we're performing. Because I think that's also the hard thing. Like when we play games like Heads Up
Mhm.
or any games that we are really good at together, like when we play
Yeah.
with each other, that when we play with other friends, they don't like playing with us because we're maybe not patient or nice. That's hard. So like if Fernando's on my team and he's not doing well, I don't care that he's Fernando Alonso. I'm gonna be frustrated that he's not doing well,
Right.
and vice versa.
Right. 100%.
And so that the game, I think it's important to understand what game we'd be playing.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that the teams that we would have like the most, I think would be the best, would be the Ferrari, obviously. Me and Carlos on the same team would be too much
Yeah.
Virgo energy. We would be
Agreed.
so.
But
like,
he and I, you and I work well together.
Yeah.
Therefore, Carlos and I would work well together because sister signs.
Exactly. Exactly. I think McLaren, we make some good content there.
Yeah.
I think obviously AlphaTauri
Yeah.
would
I
be
mean, Alpha Qatauri content just writes itself, regardless of who's participating.
right. Yes. But I think it would be pretty funny, and we could make some good content there. So if anyone wants to have us make some content for you,
We're around.
and we're good at games. We're
Yeah.
very good at games.
So good at games. I love a game.
We love a game.
We haven't played Heads Up in so long.
I know. We
What was
gotta
our
do
best?
that.
Like 19?
Something crazy, because we were amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, now we've gotten through that. Let's get
good
to our awards.
I like that question.
Good.
I'm sorry, my microphone keeps going out. All right, I think we're good.
Okay. First category. So I'm going to read the category. I'm going to read the nomination. I will reveal the winner, and then we can kind of talk through our reasoning for picking this person. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. First category. Biggest shock so far of the F1 2023 season. The nominees are Daniel Ricciardo's return to F1, Nick DeVries being fired mid-season, McLaren's big improvement, Fernando Alonso's return to the podium. And the winner is, drum roll please, Daniel Ricciardo's return to Formula One. Now,
Ooh.
we kind of, I don't want to say we struggled with this, but because when we were talking about this, I was like, is it really a shock that Daniel's back in Formula One? And you brought up the good point, which is that it's a shock he's back mid-season.
Yes.
Not that he's back entirely. If it was at the end of the year, I don't think that would be entirely shocking.
Right.
Nick being fired, it's slightly shocking given the expectations that we had for him, but we also know it's the Red Bull way.
Right.
So maybe not quite as shocking. And McLaren's improvement has been incredible, but they weren't that bad last year.
Right.
So yes, they were terrible at the beginning of this season, but compared to where they were at last season, when they were like middle, fourth, fifth best team.
Right. Like if it was Williams doing what McLaren's done, that would be
Right.
a shock. But yes, we didn't think that McLaren, it wasn't surprising that McLaren did what they did because, I mean, to us, it happened really fast, but obviously they've been working on it for a long time and they have been good very recently.
Yes. And then Fernando's return to the podium was slightly shocking, but also not so shocking.
Yeah. He's a world champion. Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't going to get back in.
Daniels has been the most like, oh shit, he's back in Formula One. So he gets the award. Congratulations to Daniel. Okay, next category. Most underrated driver.
Mhm.
I'm also going to mix up some of the like order in which I present these.
Okay.
Just FYI.
All right.
Okay. The nominations are right now. I should also preface too. Some of these categories have 4 nominations, some have 5. It just was the number.
Some have 3.
Yeah, some have 3. It was about how many submissions we got and, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Most underrated driver. The nominations. The nominees are Oscar Piastri, Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hulkenberg, Alex Albon, Esteban Ocon. Hannah, would you like to reveal the winner of the
Can you
most
show me your paper so I don't
underrated
do it wrong?
driver?
Yes. That's what I thought. I just want to make sure. So the winner of the most underrated driver so far this season is Mr. Yuki Tsunoda.
Yay! Bravo, Yuki! This was a tough one.
It was tough.
This was a really tough one for us because, Oscar has done a lot this season, but I wouldn't say he's underrated.
No, I don't think he's ever been underrated.
I don't think he's underrated. I think he came in with a lot of hype and he's delivering.
Yes.
But
I think he's correctly rated.
I think he's correctly rated. I think Nico Hulkenberg is slightly underrated, but I don't think it's so obvious. I mean, he's definitely done well during the qualifying, but his race performances haven't been quite as good as his qualifying has been. And again, I think he's probably properly rated.
Yeah.
Esteban Ocon, again, he's done well.
Yeah.
And he kind of flies under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, again, properly rated. For me, the toughest was Alex and Yuki.
Yeah.
But I just think Yuki just kind of, and again, Spa, P10, like he's very solid.
Yeah, well, and I think too at the beginning of the season, which we didn't talk about this when we made the choice, but like at the beginning of this season, everyone just like assumed that Nick was going to wipe the floor with him, and that just did not happen. And yeah, he's really held his own, and like the car is not great, but he's been super consistent, which is very important. Like, and not consistent, like maybe in a ranking on the grid where you'd want to be. However, he's really been hanging out strong, P10. There's been a few moments where he's gone away from that, but I think overall,
he's a really
no one saw it coming. I don't think.
Yes, exactly.
Or at least myself included. I just like wasn't anticipating this.
Whereas
him.
Alex Albon last season, I think he was underrated last year.
Sure.
And I think he's like continued on that success this season.
Yeah.
I also think too, I think Alex has done well, full stop. But also, again, we said this before, like you have to think about the teammates that he has or that he's had with Latifi and then Logan Sargent, like not necessarily the best benchmark.
No, but to me, well, first of all, he's been a Red Bull driver, and I know he didn't stay there, but I don't think that's because of his driving ability as much as it was just like it wasn't the right environment for him. It was like pressure cooker.
Yeah, exactly.
That was weird. I don't really say that phrase ever, so that was very weird. And so, but I think, to see a Williams in points,
right,
not expecting.
I talked to my can, not in my microphone.
Yeah, I noticed that. But I don't think he's underrated as a driver. I just think he hasn't
had the car.
Yeah, he hasn't had the car.
Yeah.
And now I think he's starting. But yeah, I think people have always known that he's a good driver.
Yes, exactly.
So
congrats to Yuki.
Woo.
Okay. Next category. Would you like to read out these nominations?
The next category is most overrated driver. And the nominees are.
I think we should just preface really quickly because overrated driver.
This was hard.
This is hard. And this is not the nicest of categories, right?
No.
But it's who we feel like maybe gets talked up a lot, but hasn't quite delivered on that talk on track so far this season. Doesn't mean they're a bad driver. Doesn't mean that they're not good enough to be on the grid. I want to preface all this by saying that. Just they aren't quite where we think they should be.
Agreed.
Let's continue.
Okay. And the nominees are Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, Max Verstappen, George Russell, and Checo Perez. And the winner is, go ahead,
George Russell. Now, I also want to say too, these were nominees that you all submitted.
Yeah.
These are, I want to say the nominees, we did not create the nominees.
No.
The listeners created because I was shocked when I saw Max Verstappen's
And
name
it's same.
said so many times. I was like,
And I
Max?
actually had this when we were having this discussion, like, I think there's a difference between, and maybe the way that we judged it is overrated as a driver. I think a lot of people may have, because I asked this question of like overrated as like just talked about too much, or like, I don't know. And I can understand why people put Max in the sense of like, I'm done talking about him,
Mhm.
but he's not an overrated driver.
No.
So that doesn't work.
No. So I'm just gonna, so Carlos Sainz, I don't think he is overrated. I think is he as good as Charles Leclerc? I don't think so. But I don't think he's ever been touted. I think there's probably Carlos Sainz fans who think he could be world champion, but I don't feel like the collective
Right.
has been like as hyped about Carlos as other drivers, right? Like Lando gets a lot of talk about like he
Right.
could be world champion someday.
Yeah.
Or I mean, Charles even said that, right? Like
Yeah.
we could be world champions.
Yeah.
And Charles knew because they literally could be.
Right.
There's some other drivers that get that kind of talk around them. Oscar Piastri, George Russell even gets that talk, which is why he won this category. But like, I don't think Carlos really gets that as much. Like, he's a solid, good driver, but is he a world champion material? I'm not so sure. Checo, I don't think he's overrated. I think people are pretty low on Checo right now.
Yeah.
And I think he's had his struggles, but I think ultimately he's like in a position that's very difficult to succeed in.
Yes, agreed.
And I think he's doing well
considering.
Yeah. Pierre, I could see, he's had some tough moments this season, like bad luck, but him and Esteban are pretty much on par with each other.
Yeah.
And I think you would have said prior to the season, like Esteban and Pierre are pretty much on the same level.
Yeah.
I at least
I think they're
would've.
correctly rated.
Yeah, I think that they're correctly rated. Max, again, as we said, I don't think he's overrated at all. And George for me is a little bit overrated because I think there's a lot of hype about. Well, I think hypes himself up, but also there's this like he's a future world champion. He came in last season and beat Lewis, and it was like George. And then this season we haven't quite seen.
Yeah,
he's definitely been. It's pretty confirmed he is the second driver on that team. Like Lewis, I think has beaten him every single. I can't think of a weekend where George beat Lewis.
I don't remember.
It's pretty much consistently Lewis beats George, which is how I would expect it to be.
Sure.
But there's kind of this hype that George is better.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true yet.
Yeah, I agree.
So anyway, congrats, George, for winning the most over. But there's still time to change this. Like you have the second half of the season. You may not be the overrated driver in the second half of the season.
Facts.
Could be someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll take the next one. All right. Most underwhelming team. This is a team that just has not lived up to expectations so far this season. The nominees are Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin, Alpine, Haas, and Ferrari. And as you all can expect, the winner of this category is Ferrari.
Yeah.
Underwhelming as hell.
It's been really bummer.
Really bummer. Alfa Romeo and Haas, not a lot of expectation there.
No.
So I don't think you can really say they haven't been good, but has it been underwhelming?
No. It's been
Aston Martin, you skyrocket and think, oh my God, this team's amazing. They've had a decline, but they're kind of back to where I think they probably
should be.
And like where you'd expect them to be.
Yeah.
Fighting for points, doing decently well, but definitely middle of the pack team. Alpine, you could say they've been kind of underwhelming this season, but I don't think it's been drastic.
No.
I think a lot of teams have taken a lot of steps forward and they've just kind of, but they got a podium this season.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you can get a podium and say it's been underwhelming
mm-hmm.
for a team like
them.
Alpine.
Yeah.
Ferrari, you were fighting for win. You won races last season. You at one point were leading the championship,
right?
And now you're nowhere near winning races.
No, and just as a collective unit, just feels really all over the place. There doesn't seem to be a lot of unity, and it just feels messy.
It feels very messy, and there's a lot more expectations on their shoulders given who they are and everything, and they just haven't quite delivered with that. Want to take the next one?
So the next category is most surprising team. And the nominees are McLaren, Aston Martin, and Williams.
Mhm.
And the winner is Aston Martin.
So Aston Martin, I think you have to give it to them simply because of their incredible leap from last year to the beginning of this year. Going
Yeah.
from being like, I think they finished the constructors last season like P7, P6, something like that.
Yeah.
And they all of a sudden were fighting for podium. I mean, they got consistent podiums for a number of races there at the beginning of the season. Like
Yeah.
an incredible jump. They have dropped down, but
Still.
it's still a great leap forward for them.
Yeah. Because we were saying too, like with the McLaren thing, we kind of touched on it earlier, but it's not surprising that they fixed themselves.
Exactly. And then Williams, I think, it's like a progression. Like they built upon what they did last year, this year. Like it's been a natural. They're still not like a consistent point scoring team every single weekend, but like it's better than it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be.
I'm excited to see what they do next year, though. I think they're really getting somewhere.
I think they are too. I think that they're like on the right path. I would really be curious if they got, not that Logan's been bad, but I'd be curious if they had another driver of like Alex's level.
Yeah.
Just like what they could do with that. Yeah. Maybe we'll see someday. All right. Next category is best race so far this season. The nominees are Silverstone.
Oh, sorry, I was counting.
Oh, I thought you were saying
Doing
stop.
that. Yeah, no, I'm so sorry.
The nominees are Silverstone, Australia, Austria, and Monaco. And the winner is Australia.
Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi. This one was great. So to be totally honest, not a lot of great races so far this season. There has not been the Silverstone 2022 race.
Right.
There hasn't been the total shock. Oh my God, this is just totally crazy. There have been a lot of great sprints.
Yes.
But I think the races have kind of been a tad predictable. I mean, of course, the fighting for P2 and P3 have been good, but
yeah, there's been moments.
There's been moments,
but there haven't been. Yeah.
And Australia was just exciting given the number of red flags they had and the number of race restarts they had. If people don't remember, there was the first red flag happened very early on because Alex Albon had a little spin, brought a lot of gravel onto the track. They had to clear out. They had another race start. Then you had, I believe it was Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah.
Lost his tire at the end with like maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 laps to go. They red flag the session, have a race restart, and carnage.
Absolute carnage. It was.
I mean, you
so
had
awesome.
Nick running into someone, Logan hitting someone.
And then didn't like Hulk, like, or it might have been, I can't remember, but someone like went through the gravel trap to like avoid this like traffic backup.
Carlos hit someone. I think Carlos hit Fernando.
Yes.
Got that penalty and he was like devastated.
Yes.
And then of course you had the Alpine on Alpine.
Tears.
Yeah. You had the Alpine on Alpine crime.
Yeah.
And then there was this whole like, how do we end the race?
Yeah.
How does this hapen? And then
did we just end on a safety car?
Yeah. And do you remember also because it was like because all the they then went back to the original order because after all the chaos, like Yuki was in like P4,
right?
And like all this craziness had happened, but they didn't complete a sector, so then they went back to the original order. Just
bonkers.
Chaos. Absolute chaos.
Pretty good race actually.
So it was good in the sense that like shit happened, but I don't remember the racing being really that great, but it was in terms of like drama. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was fun.
So here's hoping that the next half of the season brings like some legitimate on track, great overtaking racing, maybe somebody else winning a race other than Red Bull. You know, one can dream.
That'd be so interesting.
It'd be so interesting.
It feels so unlikely.
I know. It just feels like it's, yeah.
Like, has there ever, and I genuinely don't know the answer to this question, but has there been a season in which there's never been a winner outside of one team?
That's a good question.
Because that's bonkers.
I'm sure there has been.
I'm sure.
But I don't know for sure. That's a great question.
I can't wait to know who it's going to be.
Anyway,
if it is,
we'll see. All right. Do you want to do the next one?
So the next category, well, that one I knew, is best duo And the
Now-
nominee,
But I think we should preface what best duo really means, because it's not so much like it's about who we love seeing together the
Oh, yeah.
most that
It's not team
provides the
necessarily.
best content and the best. For me, it's like an emotional feeling when I see
Yes.
them together. I'm like,
smile.
exactly. Like I make
Yes.
sure. So it's not necessarily, teammates. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. And the nominees are
Mhm.
Charles and Carlos,
Mhm.
Daniel and Max, Lando and Oscar, Lando and Daniel, and Pierre and Yuki. And the winner is Lando and Daniel.
It's a little bit of a shock.
It is a little bit of a
It's a
shock
little bit of a shock
for us.
and I think for the audience as well.
Yeah. But I will tell you why.
Well, because also like last year, so clear cut and obvious who the
Oh,
best duo is.
yeah. But it's
Pierre
not
and Yuki.
But that's that year.
I
This
know,
is
no,
this
no,
year.
but
I know.
what I'm saying is there's not that obvious duo, especially teammate duo this season like we had last season.
Right.
And we get a little bit of Pierre and Yuki every now and then. And when the pictures come out of them together and they're,
Yes.
embracing, it is,
and you go, huh, but it's not
does-
consistent.
it's not consistent. And it's a little bit like, it makes me a bit sad.
Yes.
Honestly, because it's like, oh, like
Mhm.
good times, but
Right.
it's like it's like seeing two exes together after long, and like they're still friends, but
yeah,
it's like
it's not the same.
what could have been type of thing.
Exactly.
Charles and Carlos make great content,
Yes.
but they're not really giving you off track content,
Which was interesting. I never really thought about that. And you brought that up when we were making our decision. And I found that to be really interesting. And
yeah, like they get along well, they have a good time together. They're very funny with like their Ferrari videos, but they're not. And that's the dynamic of a teammate on teammate thing, right? You're like you're friends, but you kind of have to keep a close
Sure.
distance, So that's part, because we have to take into consideration the off track relationships.
Of course.
Daniel and Max are a given,
Love.
but it's really only something that I feel when they're teammate. Like I feel it when they're just hanging out, but
It doesn't, yeah. And it's not as consistent.
it's not as consistent.
Right.
Lando and Oscar, they're like new. It's like very fresh.
Yeah.
They're and I think they're warming up to
So you're
each
getting into a
other,
groove.
and they're becoming more funny with each other and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Lando and Daniel.
I mean, you guys saw the private jet photos. That's
Right.
really what sealed the deal. I mean, they are just, you can
Yes.
hear them laughing.
yes.
They love each other. I love them so much.
And like even was it spa weekend? Like they're chatting, like they're just like standing there chatting, like they're just always kind of together and around each other a
Yeah.
lot. And I feel like with Pierre and Yuki, like I said, it's like a little bit like like a twinge of sadness. With Lando and Daniel, I'm actually very happy they're not teammates
I think
anymore.
it's better for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a better environment, and they're just, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
love their friendship. I think it's very cute. It's
Yes.
very sweet,
Yeah.
and
Big fan.
And I think because they aren't teammates, they're more comfortable like being friends.
Well, yeah, this is what I was talking about last year when like I felt like Lando and Daniel got closer after it came out that Daniel was leaving McLaren because Lando didn't have to like there was no competition. Not that there was a lot of competition last year,
Yeah,
for that,
exactly.
but there was no animosity, and he wasn't like Daniel didn't leave him behind or like leave him at McLaren. Like McLaren said goodbye to Daniel,
Yeah.
and I just felt like it opened him up to love Daniel the way he needed to.
Yeah, so we love Landan.
Landan. I like that.
Yeah.
Is that a thing on the internet?
Uh-huh.
Oh, cute.
Yeah. So more content from them, please. Okay. Best temporary livery. Only a few teams have done temporary liveries so far this season, but
Mhm. There'll be more coming up.
All right. So the nominees are the McLaren Chrome, which they ran in Silverstone, I believe.
Yes, and it was a callback to an
Old
car,
school McLaren. The Williams Golf livery. The Williams 800th race livery that they also ran in Silverstone. The Red Bull livery they did in Miami. And the pink Alpine before they switched over to more
They should have done that for
blue
Barbie.
Alpine. They 100% should have. And the winner of this category goes to Williams Golf livery.
She was beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. The Golf liveries are always great. When Golf was a partner of McLaren, they did the Golf livery for Monaco one season. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
you're not as big of a fan of the chrome. I liked the chrome a lot. I thought it was cool. They also did that white. They did the white and orange for Monaco, I think it was.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember? I didn't like that one as much, but I was a fan of the chrome.
Yeah. I felt like for being a callback, the chrome didn't do enough to call back.
Wasn't enough chrome.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. It just didn't do it for me, but that's okay.
I also did like the Red Bull in Miami. I liked the
Yeah.
like art part of it was cool.
Mhm.
Okay, do you want to do the next one, or I can
can
do
do
it
it.
with the recreation of the sounds?
Do it.
Okay, so this is a fun one. Next category is best team radio. Now you can imagine we got a lot of the same
Yeah.
nominations
Because we
that
all love
came
the
in.
same things.
Yeah. And some people did send some in that were from I don't think they realized it's for this season only, because they
Oh,
sent in
heard.
some ones from previous seasons. Okay. The nominees are Toto Wolff telling Lewis Hamilton, "We know the car is bad, just drive it."
Lewis, the car is bad, we know. Please drive it.
Classic.
Mhm.
The next one is George asking if it was raining or sweat in his helmet.
Is anyone else reporting rain? I think it's sweat from the inside of my helmet.
Yuki in Monaco asking his engineer if, quote, if they're trying to crash me, are you trying to crash me? And then he did crash.
Mhm.
Well, kind of.
Do it.
It's
Trying to crush me or what?
George in Baku, when he got out in qualifying, saying, sugar.
Sugar.
And finally, Yuki very simply saying,
The note back. And the despair of
when Kevin Magnussen passed him. And the winner of the best team radio category goes to George. Or is it raining, or is it just sweat?
Is anyone else reporting rain? I think it's sweat from the inside of my helmet.
I mean, that was the radio heard around the world.
This is a tough one.
It was
This was
tough.
a nail. I mean, fight
Because
to the
they're all really
finish.
strong in their
They're
own
all
ways.
strong in their own ways, because the sugar, whatever he said,
Yeah.
was just absolutely
So
hilarious.
George.
Go George. And I think that one's very similar to Yuki's
Yeah,
because it's just like so epitomizes who they are.
exactly.
And like there's nothing really that like it's just funny because it's them.
And it's just their like instant reaction. I think that's why I like it
Yes.
too, because it's just they're like in the moment when there's a problem, that's how they react.
And I
it's
just
funny.
remember Yuki, especially. I can't remember. I think it was like Bahrain or Saudi. It was like very early on in the season, and I remember he was like defending from K-Mag, and then K-Mag finally passes him, and then it's just like yeah, and it's just funny because and also that's how we all would be like if we got
Yes.
passed. You'd just be like, damn it, like
Yeah.
you know. We just it's just the very natural feeling.
Yeah,
Toto's was very funny.
it was. Lewis, we know the cars. Just drive it.
Very, very good. But it just had, and then are you trying to crash me is funny. Again, because it's Yuki and it's like, of course they're not trying to crash
Right.
you, but like, again, it's just a funny Yuki line.
Yeah,
But yeah, it just had to be, is it raining or is it sweat?
because everyone who was watching the race knew it was sweat. You know what I mean?
No
Like,
one knew, yeah, because it wasn't raining.
right. And he was just like, I think before he said that, he said, "Is the rain coming now?" And I was just like, no, I mean, not even a little bit.
Right.
And that, the whole thing was just funny. And to me, it's like a lot of these have been memes, obviously, but that one really seemed to take flight for a while.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to show that we need to, every race, no matter really what it is, you've got to have George on the radio and you got to have Yuki on the radio. Like, because they just,
Because. Yeah. I mean,
they bring it. And
Yeah.
they're not even intentionally trying to bring it, but it's just
because
funny
of the wonderful thing
as hell.
they does.
Like, they does, right. It's like, I love Daniel Wright, but he's not an interesting radio.
he's not.
to his
He's a pretty depressing radio. Well, you know, historically speaking, in our fandom time.
right, but
line.
it's like he's not an interesting radio to his credit. Like it's
Yeah,
better
yeah.
for his team and his engineers
Right.
and everyone. You know, I don't think there's a lot of people who aren't that interesting on the radio. These people are. So
Yes.
give us what we deserve.
Yeah.
Okay, you should do the honors for the
Okay.
next one. You know who wins, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, duh. Okay, so the next category is best thirst trap, because obviously, I mean, we just had to talk about it. It exists. They are real. They are posted by the drivers and the social media admins, and we're not going to ignore the art that they put out.
These are
you know?
all either posted by the drivers or the team. This
Yeah,
is
so like,
not
I don't want to hear it.
fans.
And I know that most people that are listening to this are into it. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
just want to be clear. So the nominees are Carlos in the ice bath with the duck. You know
the
which
one.
one. This next nominee is Valtteri's ass. Just
The
top.
second time.
The second time, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the season when he was in just standing, calf deep in the water. Next nomination is Pierre's arm veins in the gym. Again, you know which ones I mean, probably, but there was a few weeks ago where he put out, I feel like it was like a photo collage.
Yeah, so basically what of him in the gym and just like, and
Black
there was,
t-shirt.
but there was the one that was like the close up.
Yeah. And the thing
veins.
is with Pierre, he's just so aware of what he's doing. And so you have to respect that. Then we have Charles Ferrari ice bath video, because again, of course they did. And then the final nominee is Pierre doing the reaction test when it looks like the Red Room. And the winner is.
Well, give some just in case people might not
Oh,
that one.
So there was I don't know if you guys have seen the reaction testing where there's basically, it's like whack-a-mole almost, but they're like, I don't even know if everyone knows what whack-a-mole is, but they're basically, the lights light up and he has to tap it to make them go away. But it looked like he was in the Red Room from 50 Shades of Grey.
Backlit.
Yeah.
Did he
No
have a
shirt.
Okay, I was gonna say,
No, he did not have a shirt on. And he was a little sweaty. And so obviously the winner of Best Thirst Trap is Pierre doing reaction testing in the Red Room.
Now, I want to preface this, or I want to say too, like, because I think people would say, "Oh, Zoe, is picking
No.
this. She picked," but you were the one who suggested that this be the
Yeah.
one.
Well, Zoe didn't really comment much on the other ones as we were going through it. And then
No,
and then I read this one and I was like, oh, well, that has to be it. And you were like, well, that's
I think
the
a
one I want.
close one. I think the runner-up is the Carlos in the ice bath with the duck.
For sure.
It's
It's like such a sweet thirst trap.
we got a lot of nominations because I said when I posted the Instagram story, I said you have to be specific about the exact photo because
There's just too many.
there's too many, and you can't just say a one driver, because we did get a lot of people just saying Lewis Hamilton,
Right.
but there was no specific image because
Right.
Lewis obviously does
He
bring
gets
it,
thirsty, right?
but it's not.
and then people lose their jobs.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why there is no Lewis nominations, because I was not given a specific photo.
Sorry, guys. Rules are
Whereas
rules.
I did get
Track
these
limits around here.
exactly. I did get these specific ones, and then there's a lot of drivers who just don't really who aren't just very
They're not
thirsty.
Like Max Verstappen isn't thirsty.
and even like Daniel Ricciardo is not very thirsty.
No.
Like Lando Norris isn't particularly. I mean, he kind of can.
But I
be,
feel like
not really.
when he is, it's on accident.
Yes,
Someone else
exactly.
has taken the footage.
Yeah.
So anyway, for obvious reasons, Pierre won.
Congratulations
I mean,
to
we
him.
love an ice bath, but
There's also something about that one that's like, an ice bath. Is obvious. It's very obvious.
yeah, and it's like part of I know you could say the reaction testing is part of the training and stuff too, but like it's just part of the regimen. That Red Room video was so unexpected, and it I gasped when I saw it, so that one wins. The ice bath photos are quite nice, but
yeah,
they're a
exactly.
dime a dozen. So
You got to interest us.
Yeah.
Entertain us.
get more creative, guys.
Okay. Next category is unluckiest driver. The nominees are Charles Leclerc, Nick DeVries, Pierre Gasly, Oscar Piastri,
Kind of rhymes.
and Yuki Tsunoda. Now, this is a tough one. Well, should I just say the winner and then we can say it? Okay. So we picked Pierre Gasly as the winner of the unluckiest driver. Now, Charles Leclerc, I wouldn't say has been unlucky.
Mhm.
He's the victim of poor decision making,
Yes,
and the car is not very good.
correct.
But I don't feel like he's had situations this season where it's like, I guess he had in Australia. I think he retired like right away on the first lap. He retired. He got hit and he was done. But like, I don't feel like it's a situation where he's like Carlos Sainz last year. He was unlucky. Do you remember all the
Yes.
times that he would get hit and have like these
Yes.
things that were not his fault
Yes,
and have to retire or mess up his race or whatever?
yes,
I don't feel like that's happening to to Charles this season.
agreed.
Nick DeVries, it's not really unlucky.
It
It's
didn't-
more just poor performance. It's unfortunate,
Yes,
but I don't know that it's unlucky.
agreed.
And
I think it's like we judged it, I think, based on like the races and the driving and the point, like not that
Yes.
he was booted.
Yes.
That wasn't really part of our
Yes.
decision making.
Oscar, I think you could say in some ways has been unlucky. You know, I think he missed out on a podium in Silverstone because of the safety car thing, and it just didn't work out in his favor. Obviously Spa, lap 1 DNFs, but he also like does very well in the sprint race in Spa. And for a rookie,
Yeah, he's having a hell
he's
of a
had a
season.
really great season. But part of me feels like we should have given him this award because he has had some unlucky moments. But it's hard to say a rookie is unlucky when he's
Agreed.
performing as well as he's performing.
Agreed.
And Yuki has had some unlucky moments, but also the AlphaTauri is so bad.
Yes.
And I feel like he has pushed it as far as it can go, at least right now. Pierre, I feel like has had, the double DNFs, just all these moments where it's like he was so in Australia. Now you could say it was his fault that he crashed into Esteban, but he was running like P5.
Right.
Crashes, end of his race. Like, I feel like there's been more instances where like he had the chance of having a good race and then
Yes.
didn't end
It
up
was
being a
taken
good
from
race.
him.
This is a tough one though.
It was tough.
And I'm curious what the audience would say
Me
to this
too.
one. So we'll obviously make a poll and do that. All right, do you want to take the next one?
Yes. So the next category is Best Martin Brundle Grid Walk Moment. And the nominees are Cara Delevingne, Jackie Stewart grabbing Roger Federer, Sam Ryder fangirling over Martin, calling Carlos Carlito. Oh, yes. Sorry. There was more than I thought. The last nominee is when Martin got on the ground to see through the Ferrari legs. And the winner is when he got on the ground to see through the Ferrari legs, because I've never seen him so unhinged. And let's just go through this a little bit and unpack.
Well, yeah, for those who don't remember that one, it's when there was something, I'm pretty sure it was Ferrari. And
I'm
at
almost-
least that's what people were saying, but there was some change on the Ferrari and all the mechanics were like lined up around
Yeah,
it
they
to
made like a
basically
human
block
wall.
it. And Martin gets on the ground and the cameraman is on the ground looking
Yeah.
through the legs.
He
to
won't be
see
stopped.
what is going on with the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Iconic moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go through them.
So Cara Delevingne, I know we talked about it before. I really just didn't want to give it air anymore.
And that's an obvious one. That one's very obvious.
Yeah, and it
but
was
it's-
more on like her reaction than it was a Martin moment. So
Yes.
goodbye. Now the Jackie Stewart grabbing Roger Federer was incredible because Jackie Stewart was giving Martin Brundle energy, but Martin didn't do
it.
that. So we didn't feel like, while it was an iconic moment, we didn't feel like we could give that one to Martin. Now the Sam Ryder, it's funny because when Zoe wrote this out, it says fingerling like potatoes, and it really just like threw me off. I was like, when did Sam Ryder do that? But Sam Ryder fangirling over Martin was really adorable. But it just like didn't hit as much as it could have. And then calling Carlos Carlito, like that's gonna stick.
That
like
was funny.
people will call him Carlito from now on. And it was funny, but I mean, you just really can't like give it to anything else. I mean, he was on his hands and knees, like trying to peek at the car, and it's giving Toto looking at Red Bull, and the whole thing was just brilliant and perfect, and I love him, and I truly cannot wait. I've said it before, but I cannot wait to see how unhinged he is in Vegas.
Okay, let's go on to the next. I'm gonna go down to these ones.
Okay.
So
You'll have to
next
do
one
those 'cause
is
I don't have them written.
best helmet. And the nominees are Alex Albon's golf helmet, Charles Leclerc's Monaco helmet, Bottas's mullet helmet, Lando Norris's beach ball helmet, and even though it's not really his name, Helmut Marko. Helmut Marko, but Helmut Marko. That's the best helmet. It's close enough.
I really giggled when I
The winner of this category goes to Lando Norris with his beach ball helmet from Miami. Pretty awesome.
loved it.
Pretty great.
Loved it.
And I think it was iconic.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Lando. Next category, we actually didn't pick a. Oh, I think for this one, would it be that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry for that. Next category is best feud. So this is an on track or off track feud, whether it's, temporary or long term, even if it was for just a couple minutes. These are the best feuds so far this season. We have the Carlos and Pierre feud that transpired. Was it after Silverstone? I believe it was.
Pobrecito.
When Pierre, confronted Carlos in the media pen,
Which was like a bold move.
and then posted the onboard footage on his Instagram story.
that was so good.
I think they're fine now, but
Yeah.
he was not thrilled.
I don't know if he's still on his top 3 best friend list on the grid though, but
Yeah. Next nominee is Princess George. When Max called, and Hannah's wearing the shirt in honor. When Max called Princess George after their little incident in Baku, when George put a little hole in Max's car. That was interesting.
a little hole.
The next feud, which is a fake feud, but we've made it into a feud in our brains, was Christian Horner's feud with the 10 drivers that did not show up to his barbecue post Silverstone. We don't think a feud exists, perhaps. I mean,
Well, it does in his mind, maybe.
yeah. The next one we have is Max Verstappen and his race engineer GP. Not that they actually feud, but they bicker
Yeah.
on the
Old married
radio.
couple.
Old married couple. And then finally is Nick DeVries versus Helmut Marko, which was a tough one for
Yeah.
all involved,
Yeah.
mostly Nick.
Yeah. Helmet seems fine.
Helmut seemed fine. But anyway, the winner of this category is Max saying Princess George. Max and Princess George,
Mhm.
really. Iconic.
Yeah.
Pretty iconic.
Especially the memes afterwards with George's T-pose in the hole that was in the
Yes.
car. That was
Yes.
pretty good.
That was iconic.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's T-shirts about it now. So
Exactly. Would you like to do the
best
this
driver
one?
on social media? I
Yes.
would love to. So the next category is best driver on social media. Now that sounds kind of weird, but you know what we're saying.
It is the driver that provides the best content that makes you happy, makes you smile,
Yeah.
brings you joy, gives you a look inside their life and the life of the F1 drivers that you maybe don't get elsewhere.
Exactly. And the nominees are Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, and Sir Lewis Hamilton. And the winner is Daniel Ricciardo.
Now, this might be shocking to some people,
Wasn't to me.
but what pushed him over the line was the JPEGs,
Yes.
because he has continued the JPEGs when others have not.
Yeah.
AKA Lando
Lando.
Norris.
too busy.
Pierre Gasly gives great content. He has dipped a little bit
Yes.
this season, I have to say,
Agreed.
in terms of a BTS POV. Like,
Yes.
he's not giving you as much fun, goofy stuff as he maybe did last year.
Like the photo dumps last season were top tier.
tier.
Like he did a little bit for everybody, he ticked all the boxes. He showed his friendship with Yuki. He showed his thirst traps. He showed his just normal training stuff. I mean, there
Some
was
funny
really
things, yeah.
something for everyone.
Yes.
And I just don't feel like he's been doing that as much lately.
Lewis gives good content, but I thought it was really fun, or I liked that selfie he did with Max and Fernando. Like when they were
Yes.
like, that was kind of a fun little BTS thing.
Yes. It's just a little bit more
It's a little more
curated, or at least it comes off like,
Yes.
not to say the others aren't curated, but it comes off as more like polished
Polished.
curation.
Lando's is fun, and I
Yeah.
do love his like post-race selfies that he always posts.
Yeah.
And like he's
It's
kind of
very
silly.
Gen Z.
Yeah, he's so Gen Z. But he's not really sharing a ton with others as
Right.
much. And Alex is great on social media as well, but as you said, you think it has a lot to do with Lily.
It just feels like, not that he's not good on his own. It just feels like she is very encouraged,
Yes.
like she helps with it.
Right. Whereas Daniel, he's giving you, fun JPEGs with other drivers. He's giving you, I don't know. I just feel like whenever Daniel, and again, this is where our bias probably comes in, but whenever Daniel posts, I just am like, oh,
Yeah.
Daniel posted on Instagram.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't feel wasted.
Right. And I feel like he does a really, just from like even a marketing perspective, like I love how he sneaks in on Shantae stuff before the like announcement of the new launch comes out. Like you kind of get excited to see that. I like that he gives us glimpses of his personal life without any context, because we don't need the context, but it's kind of like he's letting us in, but keeping a boundary up in a way. You know what I
He
mean?
gave us a lot of good content from Scotty and Chloe's wedding.
Yes, which love to see it. And then I also I feel like he's one that, like, again, the pictures on the plane with Lando, like I feel like like seeing his friendship with a lot of the drivers, and he does a good job of that. Like my favorite, I know this was last season, but was when he kind of, there was a picture from like every driver or whatever.
Yes.
I just thought that was cute.
Yes.
And like the way they light up when they saw him, that's how I interpreted it anyway. Anyway, he's just the best on social media, so that's why I won.
Period. End of
Yeah.
story. And then we have a special category that we're going to start doing, which we are calling, well, it is the Humanitarian Award.
Mhm.
And it will be named after the winner of this category henceforth.
Yes.
But the winner of the Humanitarian Award, and this is, somebody, because we know all these drivers have amazing charities and things like that they do to help their community or other people, disadvantaged people, kids, all that stuff. This is more so somebody who did something this year that was like
Above and beyond.
and not necessarily like for their specific charity, just like an act of kindness.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what it should be called. Not so much humanitarian, but like
Sure.
the act of kindness award.
Okay.
And that this year, mid-season, is going to Yuki Tsunoda for helping out following the devastating floods in Italy around the Imola area, cleaning the streets, helping to,
Yeah.
restore the town.
Yep.
When he didn't have to do that.
Nope.
And good job, Yuki.
So henceforth, the Yuki Tsunoda Act of Kindness Award.
Which is so ironic.
Yeah. Ah,
Not that he's not kind.
no, of course.
It's just, so congratulations to Yuki for winning that, very
iconic.
iconic and just
Yeah.
like, coveted award, frankly.
Exactly.
And to those out there who want to win this award next time, like, you guys have to step up and do something kind. And it can be anything. It could be an act of kindness to a fan. It can
Mhm.
be to a driver. I mean, we could have said last year, like, George could have won the act of kindness award when he ran over to help Joe after he hit him
Very true.
and brought the marshals over.
Or when he invited them to Silverstone.
Yes. I still think
It was
Yuki
weird energy.
would have won.
No, 100%.
So anyway, congratulations to Yuki for that. Anything else we want to add?
No,
for the
just
mid-season awards?
this was a really lovely time. I can't wait till the awards at the end of the year. Would love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll make sure to post. When this comes out, I will post on Instagram all the categories and then like let everyone vote themselves. And again, just prefacing or just wanting to, say again, like, just for fun. It's all for fun. So
Just a bit of banter.
just don't take anything we say too seriously, because again, it's not that deep and not that serious. Anything else to add?
No.
Okay. Well, we love you guys. Thank you
True.
for listening. We'll be back next week with a very fun episode as always. Hope you all are enjoying your summer break from F1 and staying hydrated, but also just like, keeping busy.
Yeah.
Because I know it can be tough when there's nothing to do on the weekends, but there's plenty of other, well, actually, I'm not so sure if there's plenty of other things to do with your time, but read a book, watch a movie,
Yeah.
go for a walk. I don't know. Other things people do to pass the time.
I don't know what those are.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, guys, we'll talk to you next week.
Enchante.